Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Comic Chronicle podcast. I'm your guys' host, Dakota Morgan, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. Today on the show, we have a wonderful guest. Dan Waters is on the show, writer on Homesick Pilots, writer on Batman Arkham City book coming out here, writer on a lot of cool shit, to say the least here. And he joins me on the show. We talk about all sorts of stuff of our punk rock days, living in London, what it's like living in London these days, writing a Batman book, but a non-Batman book, and a lot of other stuff, to say the least here. As you know the show, we talk 90% other stuff, 10% comics on a show called the Comic Chronicle podcast. How about that? But yeah, folks, we are back. We are back after a little bit of a long hiatus here. I've been trying to get some really fun guests for you guys on the show, as well as a lot of stuff going on with my life, having all the jobs and whatnot too, and all this other stuff. It makes it a pretty chaotic time. But we are back and whatnot too, and I'm looking at possibly doing new episodes on Tuesdays. We were going to do Mondays, but a lot of competition, so we're probably going to just do them on Tuesdays for new episodes. Make sure you guys subscribe to whatever you're listening on, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, comicchronicle.podbean.com, or perhaps you're even watching on the YouTube page. Go ahead and subscribe, whatever you're doing on there, or third-party app, that's a thing too. Speaking of the YouTube page, go check that out. We're doing video game playthroughs recently, dinosaur stuff, toy stuff, put older episodes of the podcast up, as well as much, much more of the, and animal stuff you do. Animal stuff I do, to say the least. There was creatures and one at the sanctuary and at the hospital. I post videos of that every now and then. So check that out. And of course, I'm on Twitch, Coda Rex 97 on Twitch. If you want to catch me live, raw, and uncut. And yeah, at Dakota Morgan 3 on Twitter and at Dakota_Morgan 97 on Instagram. Plenty of ways to keep in touch with the podcast, guys. Plenty of ways and lots of free content for you guys. I like making it. So you know what? Might as well share it with the world. And you guys enjoy it. Thanks, everybody. And now, without me rambling on, be sure, guys, to subscribe to the podcast. It helps out greatly. But let me get into my talk with Dan. Yes, and we're recording. So this is the most professional I ever get. Dan, welcome to the show, good man. I always like to tell people to welcome to the show because, hey, you know what? It's a thing. It's the Midwestern kid in me who is still having good morals and respect and whatnot. But welcome to the show, Dan.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Dude, of course. I know it's been kind of weird. It was kind of a little bit of a thing of back and forth and whatnot of, yeah, we can, no, we can't, yeah, we can. But, honestly, the fact is you were accommodating to my time at 11, which is beautiful. And you're in London, so I thank you for that so much.
That's no problem. It's what, 6 o'clock here? So.
Oh, okay. So yeah. Just afternoon for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've talked to people, even friends of mine from other countries, and it's a Skype call or a phone call that's 2 a.m. in the morning for me.
Yeah. Been there too.
Oh, you have to?
Oh yeah, especially working with Americans mostly. So.
Oh, those damn Americans! No. What is your key for that?
Sorry.
What do you do for that? I just make a cup of coffee at 2 o'clock in the morning. What do you do for those early morning meetings that you got to do?
Oh, those are late night meetings for me.
Oh, late. Fair enough.
Yeah, I've kind of ended up on a slightly more nocturnal, well, not nocturnal, but I sort of start working about midday most days and go up into the evening because that's when sort of especially people in LA and stuff are starting to wake up, and the end of the normal work day here is when I start getting emails. So you're just shift my time along a little bit.
Oh, it's fine. So you're it's been a good, long, relaxing day, and then all of a sudden you get 10 emails saying, "Hey, we need this done yesterday." And oh,
yeah. Hey, you forgot to do all of these things. Yeah.
You're oh, well, about that. Oh, I mean, that is a thing, though. I think myself, I can say I've done a lot, but then also with other creators and friends of mine in film and comics and whatnot too. I think a lot of us who do creative work, whether artists or writers, we tend to do a lot of it at night.
Yeah, I think you meet people that people tend to go one way or the other. You meet the sort of really early risers, especially with writers, I think.
Really? I've never met one yet.
I think a lot of them are kids as well. They will start sort of 5 or 6 and just have a full day's writing done by the time it gets to 10 or 11 in the morning.
I'd kill for that schedule. I really would. I mean, I got 3 different jobs. But it's the problem. I get up in the morning, I go to work at an exotic animal hospital, or I go to work at a reptile sanctuary, and then I come home and I write, or I do the podcast. I wish.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got to find the schedule that kind of works for them in their lives, I guess.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's got to be interesting for you because it seems like you've been working like crazy recently with some of the books coming out.
I mean, yeah, I've been pretty busy. I don't like the sort of I feel like there's a sort of dramatic thing that writers can do about being, like, oh yeah, I'm writing every minute of the day from when I wake up to when I go to sleep, and it's torture, and I suffer for my art and all this sort of stuff. I'm busy, but it's good. It's balanced. And
You're not suffering for it, Dan. What the hell? You're not crying yourself to sleep because of the writing, because of the story. Yeah, those
no,
people.
I mean,
No.
the bad days happen too, but don't get me wrong, and crunch times happen and things like that. But yeah, it's generally speaking, it's a really nice way to make a living, and it's a nice way to spend the day.
Oh, it's true. Because honestly, it's because it's good therapy in a way. I've said it plenty of times on the show. It's writing is therapy. I mean, drawing, people say the same thing, but I can't draw worth of shit. I can write. But it's because I think when we do it, it's a thing that we look upon it like, you know what? The fact I get to make money for this, that I'm sitting at a computer and I'm typing up pretend, and I get to make money for it. Like, man, that's just like the best. It's like a dream.
Yeah, and seeing, I'm doing comics and seeing people turn it into something more than just a script it's a delight.
Oh yeah, that's the black magic of the whole business. There's like, I don't know how. I really don't. My artist Paul Trinidad, and I don't know how artists do it in general, of turning words to like magic. It's voodoo in a way. But then I've talked to artists and they say, "Oh yeah, no, it's a thing where we don't know how you guys write the words." I'm like, "Write the words? It seems easy compared to like drawing this character." Like, I'm like, "Oh, it's a stadium full of people, and it'd be a cold day in hell because it would be all these stick figures that blend into a stadium." And that was all it would be. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, we did it. Here you go." I'm like, "This looks like the Roman Colosseum. Like I just went back in time."
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both learned skills, aren't they? So I think they're both deserving of respect, and
that's true.
Hard graft.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong there. I mean, how did you get started though in it? Like, if you don't mind me asking, like, what was that thing that got you started in writing?
I mean, I always enjoyed writing when I was a kid and things, and I used to write a lot of stories or start a lot of stories that I never finished, and all that sort of thing when I was quite young. And it always sort of appealed to me as a way to not have a real job.
Really?
That's how it seemed. That's how it seemed when I was, 8 or 9, I guess. So I never, I always kind of thought that I would do that. It always sort of seemed like the obvious thing that I'd want to do. And then I sort of fell out of that and got married to music as a teenager, as teenagers
Really?
I want to do. Came back to it when I was at university, and I sort of discovered, or when I was a sort of, like a college age student, which here is in the UK, you can go to college when you're like 16. It's a different system.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, but it's a different, it's kind of still part of school, and it's a whole thing. But when I was sort of like around that age, I was discovering Vertigo books and things like that, and comics, and that sort of pushed me towards, sort of reinvigorating my interest in writing. But I then thought I was going to take that into film. I started doing a film degree. I hated it. It was too slow. It was too, I just wasn't as interested in film. So I changed my degree to a literature degree and started writing comics while I was studying. And my first Limbo, which came out with Image, I was still at university doing that literature degree when that came out.
Wow. So I mean, you kind of fell out of it a little bit, but you came back into it. I mean, did you play? It seemed like there was a lot of years though in between. Did you play perhaps any instruments?
Yeah. I've always played in like punk bands and stuff.
Oh really?
So I was doing that, but never. Always something I sort of, especially as a sort of cocky teenager, I always thought it'd be like, oh yeah, this will happen at some point, without having the sort of like massive drive. It was always like, you get into a rehearsal room or you go to a gig and it's an excuse to like drink a load of beers and make a lot of noise and
flirt with a lot of women.
Yeah, didn't take it as seriously as I then took the writing.
Was it the thing of, we're gonna get that one gig, guys. We're gonna do it. We're gonna be rich and famous. Yeah, to hell with the adults, man. Is that usually how it went?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That was definitely even if it wasn't said out loud, I think that was the assumption.
Oh, I wanted. Do you have any like pictures or like recordings of this? Because I really want to see like young Dan just like in the punk rock circuit with like the music and what. If you release it, I swear you would have so many people though.
I mean, like there's some. I don't know if there's any actual recordings that have survived. There's definitely pictures.
Is there any?
I've tweeted some out at different points.
That's amazing. You know what that means? You got to do a comeback tour. Just be like, listen, guys, I'm doing a concert here, and I'm also signing my books. Like at the end of the concert, we're gonna be rocking it out, and then afterward, we'll take a chill time. I'll sign your comics.
Yeah, could try and go full Jared away.
Dude, you would make so much money and do so much good shit there. I'm not even kidding you. Like, if you're like, yeah, we're gonna put the band back together, we're gonna do all this fun stuff, and we're gonna play. I'm gonna play some music, and then I'm gonna do some book signings and whatnot. If you charge like $5 a book or something like that, if you don't want to charge, just even the tickets and whatnot, you would get so many comic fans in your area that would be like, oh hell yeah, we get music and comics.
Yeah, I think they might be in for a shock.
Well, really? Ooh, you're not saying too good. You were too good, huh?
Well, it was very, very heavy stuff. Like it
was, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
Yeah. Just sort of like grindcore and thrash and that end of things.
See, you're speaking my language, but man,
it's a niche. It's a it's an acquired taste.
Yeah. But you got back into the writing though, so that's kind of the thing about like, so you got back in with Vertigo.
I mean, yeah. So discovering sort of Sandman and Hellblazer and these kind of
the good ones.
These good and sort of like dangerous feeling books. That was what really sort of appealed to me, and I started going down to the sort of local library, and they had a relatively robust comic section there, and so I would just check out. I started with those, and it just sort of led to me reading everything I could get my hands on comic-wise.
What year was this, though?
Oh God, I don't know what year it was. I would have been about 16.
I don't know how old you are now.
I'm 30 now. So
you're 30. Oh, so you're not that old. Yeah. What are you talking about? I'm only a few years behind you.
Yeah, no, I don't. So what was that? 14 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Because hearing that of like the library had a robust section of comic books, that didn't start happening until like maybe later 2000s.
Yeah, it would have been
early. Yeah. Because I think it wasn't until like after the 2000s that the libraries were like, oh, people actually read these books? We'll put them in our library. I don't think they were a thing for a while. I don't remember anybody ever saying, and they were for me. It was around the same age a little bit there, so I was like, yeah, I don't know. That's where I discovered my books, was my high school library, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, libraries are an excellent place to learn.
They are
to find things. Yeah.
They are. They're probably a lot safer though in London.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. We've got some pretty good. I mean, just the eternal thing, which I think is pretty universal. Of they are criminally underfunded and struggling and all sorts of things.
I thought you were going to say the universal thing of everyone going into the computers and looking up porn.
That probably is universal as well.
Yeah, there's no way. There is no way to snap it over there too. Man, there was a thing, and yeah, it's kind of off-brand for comics, but this is a show where we talk 10% comics, 90% other things. There was a thing here in Arizona that it was a couple years ago, and Dan, I want to like it blew me away. They said, "Oh yeah, the libraries are under attack," and what? I'm like, "Oh," because I thought it was like what you said, like, "Oh, they're not getting the funding and whatnot." He's like, "No, homeless gangs are actually like taking over the libraries." I'm like, what
Holy
world
moly.
do we live in?
Yeah, I know libraries have always been a kind of like place that people can go when they're struggling as well. So you know,
Yeah, they're like librarians fear for lives now. Like in the modern days, due to like people like, wow,
yeah,
okay,
that's a slightly different kettle of fish.
yeah, very, very much so. But I mean, that's the nice part about it, though, is I think. Do you think libraries are going to stick around?
Um, the thing is, I really hope they do, because if they don't, I don't think we'll get them back.
No, there'd be no. You can't like Blockbuster's gone, but you can't get it back. There's like one left.
Yeah, but books will still be a thing. You know,
Yeah, true.
Blockbuster is one thing, but the concept of the library, if they didn't exist and you pitched it today to like a council, you'd get laughed out of the room.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna make a building and it's full of, we're gonna take a big building, we're gonna fill it with books, and we're not gonna charge people anything.
No.
And we're gonna have computers in them for them to use, and like, all of this is gonna be free. It's gonna be totally
Internet.
free.
Yeah, and you know what? Well, but here's the catcher. Here's the catcher. If they don't return it, then we start charging money. Well, what's the policy? They can have it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to start an idea like that now. I don't think
No,
it would be
because
allowed.
I mean, we could even pitch the idea of like, well, you go there for information, and like there would be a council that would be like, oh, let me pull out my phone here and be like, oh, information, you say, like, oh well, man,
But yeah, so yeah, I hope libraries can be protected. And
I think we still
I mean,
gotta
there's a
feel
lot of
libraries.
people. There's a lot of people who feel very passionate about the libraries.
Very. Oh yeah, younger people feel passionate. I ain't tell. I wish they stick around. I love them. They're fantastic. I like. I don't know. It's school libraries. I mean, you still have school libraries. I think that's a thing. I don't know. It's been a while. I don't know. Are they okay? All right. Right before I graduated high school, there was apparently I found out. No, this was actually before that. When I moved from Illinois State to Arizona, they changed woodshop class to be only on computers.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if the libraries are still around. that was like years ago, many years ago, because there was like early school computers, and so they're like, look at this, kids. I'm like, oh, I liked building a shelf. This was actually good shit to learn for if like we need to fix up our own house.
Yeah, I mean, we never had that.
No, really.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
We had Latin.
you had Latin. See.
Yeah.
See, you're making it seem better off, my man. I don't know. Like the girlfriend and I, we've been honestly one of our dream spots to maybe retire in, and I work in exotic animal field as well as comics, so I don't know how much there is to actually like retire in London. Now I know you probably are. You're. I don't know what you think about that. Thinking like, no, we don't need any more Americans, but
We don't have too many Americans.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I understand it as well. I love this city. I love this place. I've lived it my whole life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You don't? Have you ever left?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was like,
at
least tell me you've left the country or something.
Oh yeah. No. I've
Okay.
traveled. I've traveled and stuff, but I've always lived here. I've spent like 3-4 months at a time out of London, but I've always had my nest here.
I mean, it just seems so much more. Correct me if I'm wrong. It just seems so much more peaceful over there. In a way, compared to America at this point, the past couple of years have been rough.
Oh, I don't know. We're in the midst of a corruption scandal. We have the worst problem. Yeah, the thing is, like with Brexit and everything as well.
Mm-hmm.
We also have we have production line, like massive production line issues and all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
And yeah, like the sort of golden age is definitely over, I think. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing either. It's these things ebb and flow, but there is this British and particularly English mindset of superiority sometimes, which is being sort of egged up with the whole Brexit vote, which was pushed through by Boris Johnson is like the most corrupt person you could ever hope to meet.
Been hearing about that, yeah.
Because at least the thing with Trump is like, that's a whole thing and whatnot. But at least like when he's gone, he's gone. Like the Brexit thing is something we're gonna have to deal with for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, that lasts forever until
Yeah.
somebody works like years to fix it.
Yeah. So
It's
for
not.
the foreseeable future, it's going to be a train wreck.
Oh, see,
So
I've been
we're
hearing.
going to be on and on with this.
Oh,
It's been a saga already, and we're only like a year into it.
oh, see, I mean, but you never know what can happen. Like things can change. I'm not gonna say they're gonna change overnight for Brexit. There's no way in hell. I got a buddy of mine in London, and he talks to me about it every now and then. And no, it's the whole thing with that. But I mean, it's still the thing that like you just never know what can happen. I mean, that's the way to look upon it, though. Like the past couple, like I would say, like 2020 showed us anything is possible. It really showed us that.
Yeah, I mean, mostly for the worst.
Yeah, well, that is true. That I cannot deny. Yes, but you know what though? We all made it work out pretty well in the end. I think. I mean, we're doing pretty good. You still get to do stuff. I mean, I don't know. Were you working on books in 2020, or was it kind of like 2021 was kind of like the big year where you're like, I'm gonna do a bunch of stuff, and then all of a sudden you have all this coming out now?
Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit like stuff definitely slowed down. Like I think it was pretty public that there was sort of like pencils down at some publishers and all sorts of things.
Oh, we were mine. Yeah, it was a scary phone call. They're like, yeah, we're gonna go on a break for a while. How long? Oh, we don't know. Oh,
yeah.
Well,
I mean, yeah, and it was sort of we had stuff that was like pitched and picked up, and then it was like, oh, this thing's been picked up, but we don't know when the printers are going to be open again. So are we still doing this? Should the artist just sit around and wait, or should he like work on the pages? There was like little bits of this back and forth. There was a few things that died, which wouldn't have otherwise, which was a shame. Like one cool thing in particular comes to mind, but I don't want to talk about it because maybe it could come back.
there you go.
But for the most part, like I still feel I was very lucky. I was still working consistently throughout I don't think there was any point where I just wasn't working or anything, which was definitely a good thing from where I was. Like there was a lot of people who were on furlough and stuff. We had a way better furlough scheme over here than you guys for sure.
Yeah,
where there actually was some financial help for people. I mean, there was loads of problems with it. Loads of people fell through the cracks and didn't get anything, and all this kind of stuff. But there at least was these sort of schemes, so people could stay in employment, and a lot of employers didn't have to like fire everyone and all this kind of stuff because they were getting subsidized. So I know a lot of people who just weren't working, but most of them went stir crazy.
As everybody.
I was happy to just still be like doing my thing. I mean, it sucked that I couldn't go outdoors, and that slowed me right down as well. Not being able to change my surroundings and changing your environment, like to me, like tends to unlock when you get blocked and when you get sort of like apathetic.
Oh yeah. Very, very much. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. We had David Harewood on the show, and we talked early on in the pandemic, and we were talking about how nuts we were going, and we're just eating so much food. We're just like, and I was like, wow, this is fantastic. I don't know how you feel like a guy who's got to stay fit for a show. He's like, yeah, I don't know about this. I'm eating too many jelly beans, and I'm like, oh, I've been eating too many Twinkies. Like, I don't know. It's that like.
But then I feel like I was canceling myself out. I was eating a lot, but then I was also like going for a run every day because it was like because you could. It was like the one thing you were allowed to like leave the house to do.
Yes. Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm gonna go for a run. I'm gonna come home and eat cake.
And you were Jesus. You know what? It's a good. That's the Dwayne Johnson diet. You just eat a lot of crap, and then you just go exercise like crazy. There you go.
Yeah,
Next
but I think there has to be a slightly different, ratio.
Yeah, eating the raw eggs.
Yeah.
God, oh no, I've tried doing a dietary stuff. I've had friends of mine who were Navy SEALs and whatnot. They tried to get me to be going on their diet, and this fat boy died. I'm not fat; it's kind of chubby. I'll be honest, but this guy died. So I almost vomited. Like, yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna stay enough fit. I don't need it. I'm not gonna have a six pack, but I'm not gonna have I'm not gonna be way overweight. I'm gonna stay in the medium in between. Enough exercise to keep me going.
Yeah, I mean, I just like I feel lucky that I found sort of like there are sports and things that I like, and like that to me is like enough. You know, I do stuff like I'm relatively active.
Now, which sports are those? I'm curious.
I really like bouldering.
Really?
Yeah, that's something I've been big into for about like 4 years. I've been like very.
Okay.
So a friend of mine, Guillermo Ortega, who's an Inca who works on like he's been working on recently. He's been working. I think he did the new Dune book, and he works with he worked on Moonlight and Punisher, loads of cool stuff. But he lives quite near me, and he was really into it, and he was like, hey, you got to come. You live right next to this this really good bouldering gym. You need to come, just try it. And I did, and I got really hooked on that.
Nice. I mean, for our uneducated American audience, and people who don't know, what is that sport exactly? I know, but what exactly would it be for those?
I mean, it's rock climbing, but without ropes. So, as in not like free climbing, not free solo kind of stuff. It's like it's short walls.
Yeah.
But it appeals to me because I mean I like doing rope climbing as well, but it appeals because you don't need a ton of equipment and ropes and someone to hold the other end and all that kind of stuff. You can just literally you just need a pair of shoes and some chalk and you can just go and just spend like 2 hours climbing walls. I like it because it's something which you can't think about other stuff while you're doing it because you've got to sort of like work out the problems on the routes. They're basically puzzles.
Yeah, because if you think about something else, you fall. Well, you can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
well, yeah, it just takes up your whole brain. So yeah. I like stuff like that.
It's got to be. And now I'm gonna. From first glance, it doesn't sound like it, but to me, that sounds relaxing in a way.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I think it is. I mean, yeah, it can be scary sometimes too when you're sort of, standing on a credit card sized outcrop and you're trying to reach to the next one.
Oh, see, there's no problem. Like that just sounds so much fun.
Tired of biased mainstream media? Just want the news without agenda? Well, stop on by America First Podcast. We report every Sunday on the events that took place during the week. No bias, no agenda, just the news as it was meant to be. You can find us on Spotify, Anchor, Pocket Casts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Antenna Pod, and Overcast. Tune in and stay up to date. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at capital S, lowercase CMBAG, capital N. Just type in America First Podcast. We're there. Got plenty of episodes for now. We update regularly, as I said. So stay up to date to know what's going on. And as always, stay informed, stay involved, and keep America first.
It is. I mean, like, they've done the rock climbing with the ropes and whatnot here, but bouldering sounds. I wish we had that here. I mean, it was a thing the other day. I got in this huge argument. How do you feel about rugby?
Oh, I went to a rugby school and it
you
put
did?
me off if I'd ever been into it.
Oh. So wow, rugby school.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're not a fan of it? You're like, no.
No. I mean, it's a big sport over here, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it just never quite. Well, I mean, when I was at school, also, I didn't give a toss about any like fitness stuff, and I just wanted to like, I would just bunk off like when they would come and take you to the sports ground, and there was like a coach that would come and like pick up all the kids, and we used to like hide in the bathroom, so that they did the head count before everyone got on the bus. So we had this like down to a T. Like they did a head count before you get on the bus, so you could like sneak into the bathroom after the head count. The bus would go off without you, and then you could go around the back of the school and just smoke for the rest of the afternoon. So that was my experience with rugby.
Was this also the time when you were also doing music as well?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, there we go. That is amazing. I mean, listen, we can't say we've all done stupid shit like that in school. There's no way I mean, very few people got away unscathed when not doing stupid crap like that. No.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of life. It's part of
Yeah,
growing up.
very, very. Do I feel bad a little bit? Yes. Did I realize that a smoke bomb could catch a car on fire? Yes. Did I know about it at the time as a little kid? No. Deeply apologize for the person listening if they're listening and find out it was me. Deeply apologize. We put it out. Yeah, but I mean, it's I think a thing that when you live like the weird life, and I think a lot of people think like when they look at us and they're like, oh, you guys write comic books, and we kind of get on that a little. They're like, oh, you guys must have just been at home. I've done a consensus with people, and they always seem to think if they're not people who don't know anything about comic books, it's always, oh, you must have been the stay-at-home nerdy kid, or you must have been like just not really talk to anybody and shit like that. And I always tell them like, no, most comic book writers that I know, we were outgoing. We like you were in a band, like we do crazy shit. Like I think it's like this whole misconception on people who work in a comic book field, whether artists or writers or inkers and shit too.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are just kind of outmoded, stereotypes at this point, and they sort of, I think within our kind of circles and like within our kind of bubbles, like it's pretty obvious that they don't, they don't really hold up. Like the amount of comic book writers and artists I know who are in like incredible shape and have incredible like life stories and have, incredibly rich lives.
We have one who was in the CIA at this point,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty far from the sort of like Simpsons comic book guy sort of stereotype.
Very.
But
yeah.
But that's within our kind of circles, and then it is the thing you go outside of those circles and you talk to people who have no idea, people who've never heard of anything beyond sort of Avengers at this point. It is weird what the average person has now heard. I was watching just a British chat show thing and just hearing them like someone just made a casual Thanos joke, and that's still weird.
Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah,
but regardless of that, like even people who don't even like know that much and stuff, like those stereotypes are still kind of going to be alive for them.
Yeah, like people like, oh, it's like you look like Bucky Barnes, or it's like someone said they're like, oh, the eyeliner looks like the Winter Soldier, and this was coming from somebody who is not a comic book fan. I'm like, holy shit! I'm with you on the Thanos scene though. That is, it's so weird. There's things where it's so people are like. People who I know don't usually never read comics growing up, but then they're like, oh, I want to give stuff a shot. They're like, hey, they're like The Watcher. And I was like, The Watcher? Wait, you know about The Watcher? And they're like, yeah, the What If show. I'm like, man, we live in a weird age.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very different time. Sometimes I do sometimes wonder if I would have been as interested if it had been this ubiquitous when I was younger.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, like because we didn't have it. So it was kind of like it was almost like when you were into comic books, you were kind of being a rebel at a certain point. Like in the time when you were doing, like especially 90s and early 2000s, people were like, oh, you're the comic book guy, huh? You're like, but at least here in America it was for a little bit. But
yeah, I mean, it was the stuff. I mean, again, like this, I sort of said before, like the stuff that got me interested in it enough to think like, oh, maybe this is something I want to do for a job, was stuff that felt kind of like dangerous and felt like it had these sort of ideas which could really affect you and things. It was a lot of Grant Morrison stuff, like the Brotherhood of Dada. I was like, what the hell is that? That's a crazy idea. That's I barely knew what Dada was to begin with.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And the Invisibles and all this sort of stuff, which sort of Promethea. Stuff which is like, oh look, like I mean, I think the magic stuff is like bullshit, but that's my opinion, and but like just even these ideas being sort of like posited back then was like yeah, it wasn't about finding who could beat up who or anything like that. It was just these strange ideas which were like trapped between pages, which feel like they could kind of like reach out and bite you.
Yeah. Oh yes, 100%. Like you mentioned Sandman before a little bit. Like, yeah, it's kind of magic a little bit, but that was like the terrifying one. We were like, oh my god, this is a book. This is a comic. Like there was one that made me cry at the very end. It was a Vertigo one, and it's actually being made into a HBO special. Believe it or not, DMZ. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah. Sure.
Yeah, that one got me into being like, I mean, a lot of books did, but that was one of them where I was like, holy shit, some like comics can. This was years ago now at this point. I think that book's like 15 years old.
Yeah.
And it's like when it first came out, but it's like, wow, books can talk about this. Comic books can do this. Like 15 years ago, me was definitely not thinking that. I was just only reading Fantastic Four, Superman, and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, it's like Vertigo, and they're like, "Yeah, check out Vertigo. We know you. Like you read Spawn, man." I'm like, "I do. This is." So I was like a teenager. I'm gonna shit you. Because only a few years younger than you. I was 20. I'm turning 25 in a little bit, but I watched Spawn, the live action movie when I was like 9 or 8 years old, and I watched it and I loved it so much. And my dad's like, "Do you understand?" I'm like, "Yeah, that guy going to hell." And my dad's like, "That's a demon there and all such a shit." And my dad's like, he felt so proud because he loves Spawn, but then he's also like, "What have I done?" It's like, "Oh no, like shit, this is bad." He's like, "Just don't tell your mom." And he's like, "Here's the cartoon. You can watch it when you're older."
Oh man, that cartoon is fantastic.
Oh, it's on HBO Max now. Did you know that?
I don't have HBO Max. I live in.
Oh
UK.
well. Well, there's a reason. There you go.
But yeah, like I mean, I also remember discovering. I don't think I saw the movie until like a few years later. I had it on VHS when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. Yeah. But I remember being like really quite young. And I think the first time I went to an actual comic store, as opposed to like we used to get them like not quite off the rack, but in.
Was in the boxes.
In bigger sort of convenience stores, they amongst the magazines, they would have these like reprints, and they were like these sort of like hardback, not hardback, but like as in they weren't like fully floppies, and they'd be like 3 issues of something like basically like together, reprinted, and it was like relatively recent stuff. So I remember like getting all that stuff as a kid, and it was like also like really good stuff like Peter David's Hulk and Kurt Busiek's like Iron Man, and like this was the stuff that I was finding in these reprints, and it would be like one Iron Man story and one Hulk story and one like Silver Surfer story, all just in one issue of the thing. So you weren't reading stuff linearly; you were just getting random issues.
Wow.
So I read like I had a couple of these that would fall apart. And the first time I went to an actual comic store, the first thing I saw was it might be issue 23 of Spawn, where like the front cover is just him. He's just been blown right through the chest with a laser rifle.
Oh
thing.
Yeah.
And he's slid down the wall, and it's just this green blood everywhere. And I was maybe like 9 or 10 years old, and I was like, this is amazing, and I need this.
You and I both started our Spawn kick at 9.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. We're both there. Like, I mean, listen, man. Like, I was a kid, but I was I didn't know about it too much. I didn't know how dark they could get. Like, there would be it was when the Thing. It wasn't really dark, but it was when the Thing from Fantastic Four became like he was dressing as a gangster. He had like a hat on and like the jacket, and he had a tux on and shit. I don't know if and he had Lockjaw with him. I remember reading that, and it was in a hobby store because my dad used to take me to it. That was where I couldn't find them in the retail stores until years after that. But the hobby stores is where it was at. They were the same thing. My dad would go in for RC cars, and I'd go in with them because I liked RC stuff too. And then I'd be like, "Oh, the comics," and I'd be just in the comics reading Spawn or The Thing or. God, there was so much other shit in there too. There would be like, it wasn't really like, here's the Superman. It was like all this other like, oh, if it's gonna be darker, then we're gonna put it in. Like, oh, here's the Batman Returns. Like, oh, okay. And it's like this whole thing with it was cool. Borders was also a thing around here too. That was like the big thing for a lot of people in America with comics. The old I don't know. Did you ever know about that store before it closed?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but like we don't have it.
No. Yeah, I didn't think, but I don't know. You never know. I mean, sometimes we got a store. You guys have Aldi in London. But then,
Yeah.
but then we have some in the Midwest and East Coast, and then now they're starting to get to the West Coast of America, and people are like, "What's an Aldi?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a British thing," and they're like, "What?" And people get pissed, and like, "A British store," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's a British store. It's totally fine. It's great."
I mean, the weirdest one, like we have a like. Do you guys have Iceland, the supermarket?
The
No.
Iceland?
Yeah, we have so there's a frozen food. Literally, it's a frozen food like supermarket called Iceland.
No, we don't have Iceland's cool.
But the weirdest thing that happened to me recently, well, it's not the weirdest thing, but a thing that happened recently was I went to Iceland. I went to Reykjavik, like a month back, and discovered that they have Iceland in Iceland. I thought they would at least have rebranded it, but no.
Why?
Iceland in Iceland.
That's gonna make people go into it, Dan. People are gonna be like, "Oh, it's Iceland. Oh, we in Iceland. Yeah, let's go." And this is, that. You know what? They got you, and you even knew about it.
Well, I mean, yeah, I saw it, but yeah, I just thought they would at least have rebranded it. It's weird to just name something after a nation and take it. But...
Yeah, and it'd be like, is the nation gonna get mad about it? I hope not. It's Iceland. When do they get mad?
It's true. They're very relaxed people.
They seem like it. When do you hear about things in Iceland? Never. I mean, maybe. Well, I mean, we don't in America. I'll say this, but then again, we didn't know about a lot of the stuff going on in your neck of the woods right now.
Yeah.
So, in fairness,
I mean, Iceland's it's a really interesting country. It has such a small population as well. There's only a couple of thousand people there.
That just seems like the good place to take a vacation to and just go on a good hike.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. Go up a volcano.
Yeah. Oh, definitely that. Man. Well, we're getting near the end of the show here, man, and fans will probably be pissed off. They'll be like, "Hey, you guys didn't talk about it." We should probably talk about some of your recent work.
Sure.
To say the least here, so people don't get mad at us and be like, "Hey, what the hell?" Like I said, it's a show we talk 90% other stuff. But well, your recent work here. I mean, you've worked in DC now with well, I got actually before I get into that, are you attached to anybody recently, or is it kind of you're just doing kind of freelance sort of work? Because it's
I'm
freelance.
I'm freelance. Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to work a different way at the moment.
Yeah, freelance is the best way, to be honest.
It's just nice. It gives you a balance between like working in existing universes and adding to these sort of mythos, but also getting to do my own stuff with my friends.
Yeah, which is why we do what we do. Yeah. Eventually, we do want to make our own shit. I mean, but talking about that, you did recently contribute to the Arkham universe. Yeah, how has that been going?
Arkham City. Yeah. I mean, it's all written now. It's a 6-issue mini, and that's been a real delight. I really like that side of things. I've always, that was the one thing that always did keep my attention as a kid was the Batman stuff. Sorry, I actually have to jump out 1 second. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I was always like a family member being like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Yeah. So yeah, like Arkham City's been a blast. Like the whole premise of the book is that after because Arkham Asylum's been destroyed, which happened in DC Rebirth.
Yeah. Or yeah.
And so it's been destroyed by Joker, and we just had this idea of the one surviving psychiatrist trying to find the patients that escaped the sort of bloodbath. So really looking at Gotham through a different angle, looking at it from the perspective of these people who are criminally insane, but it's a dark and scary and desperate city is the way I've always seen Gotham.
Yeah.
So to really like delve into those nooks and crannies and the paranoia and the strangeness has just been really fun, and getting to do it with Danny, who was my collaborator on Coffin Bound, which is a book I did at Image. So coming together with her to do this has just been like the most fun.
Not bad. It's kind of like we did a book, and now we get to work on Batman.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, we'd done a book where we created all this sort of weird stuff and these characters that we really loved. Like she designs these really horrific, creepy, but really compelling characters, which are sort of mixture between sort of high fashion and like bloody horror. And the editor on that project as well, Amadeo Totoro, who was the one who sort of came to me and said like, hey, you've pitched a few like weird reinventions of DC villains before. Yeah, what do you think about doing this kind of idea? So like yeah, when Amadeo and I were talking about like you know what to do with this project, the idea of bringing Danny on was really a really exciting idea to me.
yeah, and you're like, hey, we know we work together. We work together great, and we can bring you something good. I mean, that's a no-brainer at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really nice. It came together really nicely because Danny had also worked with Amadeo on The Lolo Woods, which was a Black Label book, one of the DC Hill House books.
Amazing one.
So we'd all worked together, but not at the same time. So it was a cool thing to sort of combine powers.
I mean, that's got to be, as a Batman fan, to contribute to it, though. That's got to be awesome, especially in like a weird, different way, too. I mean, that's got to be something that's really kind of, I wouldn't say testing, but almost like getting to try out that sort of thing as a writer to be like, oh, what can we do with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always how I look at things. There's always a thing of being a little bit contrary.
Yeah.
and going like, all right, well, I'm getting to play in the world of Batman. What am I going to do? First off, no Batman. There's no Batman in this book at all.
Which is cool.
He's mentioned like once, but he's never showing up. You know, I'm happy to say that like out the gate before all the issues are out. Like it's not about him. It's not about him. It's not about the Bat family. None of them are showing up. We've got Azrael, who is something else.
Yeah, he's
not quite part of that cozy little nest. So yeah, this is always I think a lot of the time this is kind of how my brain works is okay, you're doing something which is established and you know has this sort of as a sort of way it works, you know, which is Batman swings in and saves the day. It's like, okay, so what if we take that away? What if we sort of undo some of the usual structure and see what happens?
And I think that's one of the awesome parts about the whole Batman fandom in general. People don't often take a look at it. Is if you take Batman away, the world still works.
Yeah,
it's still enjoyable.
Well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think there's a way of just looking at, especially at this point, like with how many fantastic sort of things have been built into Gotham City, is that it is just this city where all this darkness and you know there's been so many stories over the years, like even just with Batman in them, but like once you take Batman away, you've still got all of this magic in the roots of the city, and you've got these mad scientists who use the city as a base. You've got all of these things. It's basically just a sort of vaguely gothic city with every conceivable thing happening at once.
It's the city where you want to live, but you don't, because you know it's like Metropolis. Like, do you want to live there? I don't know. Seems like fun, but
yeah. I mean, Metropolis is, you know, at least in Metropolis, you know, if you fall off a building, you're probably gonna get caught. Gotham, yeah. Why you choose to live in Gotham is definitely a different question. And
wasn't it?
Question.
I think it was either this. I sound dirty saying it, a TikTok that my girlfriend showed me, or is an SNL thing where it was people were like, "Why we live in Gotham and the rent's cheap."
Yeah,
the rent. Yeah, it would be.
It can be a joke, but also that's kind of how I've approached. Part of it is I think there are places that people live in the world and in the States which are pretty dangerous and pretty. You know, they don't have access to everything they need, but they still live there because they don't really have much choice.
Oh yeah,
and so looking at Gotham as that kind of place, I think is an interesting thing as well.
Oh yeah, because you got the people there. You got, I mean, you mentioned you got mad scientists there. You got like everybody just doing all sorts of shit, and the moral level is way low. There's no high morals at all in that city. Like shit, what was one of the series? Oh, Gotham Central. Gotham Central was
Yeah,
a
it's a wonderful.
oh yeah, like that's the one. I think they're adapting it in a way for HBO. I think if I remember right, they're doing a Gotham Central-esque show based in the new Batman universe coming up, which would be cool.
Yeah.
That one will be fun. But that show worked, and like Robin showed up maybe 2 or 3 different times, but then it was like about the villains and like,
Yeah.
like they're gonna. People always like, oh, Batman would show up. I'm like, there's so many villains and so much shit in Gotham. He can't, and Gotham's a big place. He can't show up all the time. There's no way in hell. He can't. That's why he probably doesn't give a shit about the Bat family at this point, because it's like, listen, I can't cover everything in a night.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just think it's an interesting thing to look at it through a different lens other than the people who are powerful, for want of a better word.
Oh yeah, like, it could be somebody being like, I need to pay the rent. And it's like, yeah, but what are you gonna do to do that? Oh, I gotta go work for Mr. Pig. Oh, really? Yeah. Or Professor Pig. It's like, yeah, the dude in the pig mask. Yeah.
Yeah, hope he doesn't stitch a doll face onto my face. Like,
Oh yeah, that's about it. Like, I just imagine being like, they're doing, it's either him or it's like some goon, and a guy's like, I gotta go to work, honey. All right, did you pack your gun? Yeah. Did you pack your knife? Yeah. Did you pack your extra gun just in case he turns on you? Yeah. Oh, what happened to Sam? Oh, Sam got killed by Joker yesterday. What'd he do? Oh, nothing. Joker just got bored. That's just
I mean, it's a wild place to write about. I think it's this great fantasy city, and
very.
That's kind of what we wanted to treat it as in Arkham City.
It was the big question: would you live in Gotham?
No.
No.
It would be terrible. As an average person, it would be awful.
Yeah, that's fair. Out of all the cities, where would you want to live?
I don't know. What's? I was about to say London, but London and DC. I mean, technically, I guess that's Hellblazer.
Oh yeah. You got to deal with some hardcore magic shit going on there.
Gonna end up haunted. I'd probably still live there, to be honest.
Yeah, still London. Be like, yeah, I live
just
in
run
London.
run the other directions if you see a blonde bloke in a trench coat.
Oh God, yeah, you run fast. You don't even if he starts flirting with you, don't just run. They ask for a smoke, don't give in. You see anybody in a suit, just go. And they got dark hair and their eyes look a little bit off. Just walk away.
Yeah, anyone who looks like a protagonist, I'm out of there.
It's true. Shit, I mean, I avoid those people to this day anyway. Like, anybody who looks like this probably is not going to end well for me if I stand around too long. Oh, my God. All right, well, we are at the end of the show here, my good man. I want to say thank you for coming. I know we've been kind of weird at the scheduling and whatnot, but I want to say thank you for coming on to the show.
Yeah, no problems. Thanks for having me on. It's been great.
Of course. Now, before I let you go, do you want to promote anything real fast that's coming out? Obviously, Arkham City, but social media not too.
Arkham City issue 2 came out, I think, last week. Homesick Pilots, Volume 2, we didn't talk about, but my image book, which is about my sort of well, it's not about but it's drawing on the misspent youth that we did talk about. That's my book with Castaway, Volume 2 of that, about haunted house mechs and teenage punk bands.
It's a really good book. I gotta say, it's a really good book.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Volume 2 of that is out on Wednesday, so really looking forward to people who haven't been picking up the floppies getting to check that out. Second part of my Azrael story with Nicola is out in next week. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
As we record tomorrow, so that'll be out in Batman Urban Legends, and that's a really fun one that ties into Arkham City as well.
Awesome, sweet. Where can people find you on social media?
On Twitter and Instagram, I am at Dan PG Waters.
Sweet. Okay. Well, thank you, good man, for coming on to the show. You're welcome back anytime too. If you want to come on,
Thanks
if
so
you got a
much.
new
Thanks for having
book,
me on.
of course,
Yeah.
of course. All righty, but I will let you know when it goes because I know you got another thing you got to go do. So I'll let you get
Cheers.
going into that. You have a good one, okay?
Love you. Thanks so much.
Good.